Hey, welcome back. I'm the Rad Retro Dad, and today I'm going to be taking you on a deep dive into this Pac-Man Museum Arcade Edition arcade cabinet. We're going to discuss the three elements that come together to make this thing work the way that it does and give the player a very unique arcade experience. But before we get into all of that, I want to give you guys a little bit of history on this cabinet. I got this cabinet from my local arcade. I traded the owner for some arcade parts. It was, when I got it, a Deer Hunter USA. It had a shotgun light gun mounted right here in the middle of the control panel. I thought this was odd because this is not really the style of cabinet that you would want to have a light gun game in. Mainly because the monitor is slanted, so you'd have to shoot kind of down, which was a little odd. But whatever, it was a Deer Hunter USA. After I got it home and I started to work on it with my kids, I started with the control panel. I took all the parts off of it, pulled it off, and I started to peel away the sticker. And underneath the sticker, the Deer Hunter USA sticker, was a Street Fighter II sticker. And I peeled that one off, and there was a Mortal Kombat sticker. And I pulled that one off, and there was a Primal Rage sticker. And then I pulled that one off, and finally I could see the original Smash TV artwork on the control panel, and I could see all the holes that had been drilled into it to accommodate all the buttons for all the other games, which was interesting. One of my favorite parts of working on these older arcade cabinets is kind of seeing that history, seeing where it came from, what it's been through, seeing that every nick and ding on it was somebody getting mad at a game, kicking it, or whatever, and roughing it up in some way. So it has a bit of a history to it. Even since I've gotten it, it's gone through two different renditions. The first rendition that I did was still a Pac-Man cabinet, but the artwork was Pac-Man Championship Edition. It had a different control setup and a different monitor and different artwork. It was fun, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It needed another update. So recently I updated it to the Pac-Man Museum that you see here. I got this arcade cabinet as a project to do with my kids. And if you want a fun project to do with your kids, fixing up an old arcade cabinet, putting the inner workings in it, making it a fun game to put in your home is a super fun project for you and your kids. And it's really fun that once you get it all completed and you stand up to it and you start playing it, it's a really good feeling. My son particularly really liked working on this arcade cabinet, and it was really fun. So now that you know a little bit more about this cabinet, let's dive into it. Let's take a look at the three elements that make this arcade work. Those three elements being design and presentation, software, and the hardware itself. Okay, so let's talk about the first element, the design of the cabinet. So let's jump in, let's talk about the different art elements, and I'll explain each one of them to you. Okay, let's go ahead and let's start with the top piece of art. This is called the marquee. The marquee is an attractive piece of art that has a backlight, and this will have the name of the game that you're going to be playing and some attractive art. Oftentimes, it's the first thing that anybody will see when looking at the arcade cabinet itself. Moving down, we have what's called the bezel. The bezel is just basically like a frame that goes around the monitor and hides all the ugly stuff that's behind it. And then there's the control panel. Here we have chosen a 4-player setup. And you can see that I kind of did like wedges for each player, and that was by design. There is a particular game on here called Pac-Man Battle Royale. Let me pull it up here. And this is a 4-player Battle Royale Pac-Man game. And you can see by this preview that each Pac-Man has a different color. They reflect the color of each wedge on the control panel. So if you walk up to the red one and you hit the start button, you're going to be that little red Pac-Man right there. And yellow, pink, and blue corresponding. The other art element, which we have not done yet, is side art. Let me show you an example. Here's an example of side art from my 1943 arcade cabinet. This is usually a sticker or it's painted. Design is painted on the side. We've not gotten there yet. But honestly, that's what I like about the hobby of arcade, is that it's kind of ongoing and there's something to do. So we haven't decided what we want on the side of this machine yet, but maybe I will do a short video in the future once we get that done. Okay, the other thing that we did is we changed this cabinet from a black color to yellow for obvious reasons. Pac-Man is yellow, and Pac-Man cabinets are typically yellow. So when you see it, even though it's not a traditional Pac-Man cabinet, it looks like one. Alright, so now that we've talked about the artwork and the presentation of the cabinet, why is that so important? Think of it this way. When you walk into an arcade and you're looking at all the different games they have to offer, what's one of the first things you do to decide which arcade cabinet you're going to play? You look at how cool it is, how attractive it is. Also, you want it to look really good because you're going to be putting this in your home. You want this to be a centerpiece, something that makes a good presentation, something that is a talking piece. When somebody comes to your house, they're like, wow, look at that arcade cabinet. That's really cool. So, with all of this being said, let's move on to the next element, which is software. So let's talk about the software. What is software? Software is anything that's installed on your computer. Even your video games are software. So what we're looking at right here in the arcade hobby is called a front end. And what is a front end? A front end is a program that collects all the games that are installed on your computer and puts them into a nice, pretty menu so that they're easily accessible to the player. Think of a front end like you would a video game console. When you boot up your PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo, you are presented with a beautiful menu that you can easily navigate. And when you decide which game you want to play, you just hit your select button and it just loads up and you're playing. That's what you want with your arcade cabinet. Let me give you a demonstration of that. Right here on the left, I have a list of all the games that are on this arcade cabinet. And there are only a variety of Pac-Man games on this cabinet. So let's go ahead and let's just load up the good old original Pac-Man game. So once I have it selected, you see that there's the name right here, and then you get a little preview video so you can see what you're playing. And when I hit my select button, it just loads the game. And once the game is loaded, you're playing it. You're ready. So you just hit the start button, and you're ready to go. You guys can see my mad Pac-Man skills. Okay, once you're done, and you want to exit, there is a button that I have programmed, and you push it down for 3 seconds and it takes you right back to that main menu. So that's how the front end works. It makes all of your games very easily accessible, and every other game on here works the same way. They're all different games, but they will all just load up and play. When you put a arcade cabinet in your home, you don't want it to be overly complicated. You want the player to just walk up, select a game, and start playing. No problems, no errors, just up and play. Okay, so this is what the user will see, the player. And they can scroll through, pick any game they want. If we go hit this button, it'll take us back to the customization menu. And in here, you've got a load of options to customize your front end any way that you want. I'm not going to go through every aspect of this program. There are tutorials out there on the internet that you can look up if you're interested. But you can change the theme of the front end. You can change the layout of the menu. So maybe you want it to scroll along the bottom and you push left and right to select a game. Maybe instead of a video, you want it to show like a picture of the arcade cabinet. You can do all those things within this program. And this program is, the front end is called Big Box, but the program that makes it run is called Launchbox. So let's go ahead and take a look at Launchbox. I'm going to scroll down, exit. And as you can see, this is nothing more than just a regular Windows computer. And we'll get into the hardware of it soon. You would be surprised that you don't really need a big, beefy computer to do this. Oftentimes, if you upgrade your home computer and you don't know what to do with your old computer, turn it into an arcade machine. So I've got a little door access, and I'm going to grab my mouse. And we're going to open up Launchbox. So here's Launchbox. This is what it looks like when you're adding games. Make sure that you're connected to the internet. And once you are, you're just going to right-click, add a game. Right here is the application path. You just browse, go to your Pac-Man games or your arcade game, whatever game you want to install, and you're going to pick one. So let's just do like Pac-Man 256. I've already added it, so I'm not going to completely add it, but I'll just show you. Okay, the other cool thing about this program is this button over here. It says search for metadata. Now, this will scrape images off of the internet. Screenshots, fan art, box art, any kind of image. But it doesn't add videos to your games. I may go over that in another video, but just know I included a link in the description to a website called MU Movies. It will have video clips for just about every video game out there. So if we hit search, update our database, our metadata base, give it a second.
One eternity later.
So then, once it updates, it gives you a list. And this one only came up with one, Pac-Man 256. You select it, and then you go down here and you hit Download Image Media. And then give it just a second. And this will pop up, and it will show you all of the images that it found. It has marquees, banners, box art in 3D, box front, box back, clear logo, discs, fan art, and screenshots. You can download them all, or you can select which ones you want. And once you do, you hit download. Now, so I'm just going to cancel out of here because I already have this game added. But that's how it works. And once you add it, then it's in there. It appears in the list, and when you open your front end, it will just be there with all the other games. So this program is really cool. It makes it easy to add games to your arcade. Now, we're going to move out of Launchbox. There are two other programs that I use that are super helpful. And those two programs are, first, a program called XPatter. And XPatter is a simple program that allows you to map keyboard keys to your joystick buttons. So right here, I have up, down, left, right, and I've got the arrow keys assigned to it. And you can see as I move that each button is assigned a different one. I've also got enter, backspace, space, and some other commands that help some of the games work. Because you'll notice as you're adding, especially PC games, that the control schemes of each game don't always work well with each other. So I use this program. It's linked in the description. I also linked another one in the description called Joy to Key. It does the same thing, but it's a little bit more advanced. I find for my purposes, XPatter is just simple, it's easy, it's straightforward. So I use it over Joy to Key. But you can do more with Joy to Key. So if you find yourself up against the wall trying to find a way around some sort of weird keyboard command that you need for a video game, you may have to use Joy to Key. So the other program that I use is a program that emulates the Xbox controller. It's called X360. And what this does is it will mimic the Xbox controller. You can map different Xbox buttons to any buttons that you want on your controller. Why is this important? Because some games only support Xbox controls. In Windows, it's called X input. And you can do some research on that on your own if you'd like. So those are the three programs that I use to make this arcade function. So that is the software side of it. Okay, let's talk about the hardware. There are several pieces of hardware shoved into this machine, but the heart of it is the computer. And you'd be surprised to know that you don't really need a big beefy computer. I have a basic Windows 10 machine in here that I got at a yard sale for $5. And after I got it, the only piece of hardware that I added into the computer was an old NVIDIA GTX 550 that I had laying around. You can get those video cards on eBay in the vicinity of like $15, $20. They are really cheap. And you really don't need any more than that, depending on the games that you choose to put on here. But in my case, I'm running just only Pac-Man games. They do not require a whole lot of computing power to make them work and to run smooth. Now, the other piece of hardware is the monitor itself. Now, you don't have to get really too picky on what kind of monitor you use. In this one, I just have a computer monitor, and it's mounted in a landscape orientation. Now, why is it important to consider the orientation of your monitor? Well, a lot of arcade games, especially the older ones, they will play in a portrait orientation, similar to this machine here. Now, I do have some games that are in portrait mode on this computer. But because I have a large variety of Pac-Man games on here, and most of them will run in a landscape format, especially the newer ones, I have chosen to put the screen in landscape. So it doesn't really matter what monitor you choose. You can choose any old monitor you have laying around. Most will work. As long as you can plug it into your computer, it'll work. The other hardware is the controls themselves. Most of these controllers are sold as kits, and I'll link some in the description so you can see some examples. But not all controllers are created equally. There's a 4-way arcade control and an 8-way. Why is that important? Well, with Pac-Man games, Pac-Man doesn't move diagonally, so he only moves in 4 different directions, up, down, left, right. To avoid accidentally pushing him the wrong direction when you're controlling Pac-Man, you limit your controllers to only 4 movements. Now, a machine like this shooter here, the airplane will fly in 8 different directions: up, down, left, right, and diagonal. So that was one of the reasons why we chose to just do Pac-Man games in this cabinet and only put 4-way controllers, and we didn't have to worry about the mess of having 8-way controls versus 4-way controls. So I will link in the description a couple different examples of controllers. Now, I covered a lot in this video and in a short amount of time, and I didn't go into everything in detail. I think it's important for you to go out there and do some research yourself if you're interested in building something like this. Now, this machine took a lot of work. There was a lot that went into it, both on the design side, the software side, and the hardware side. I didn't show you this arcade first just to discourage you from getting into the hobby and be like, I can never build something like that. I showed you this machine to show you what's possible, what you can build and put in your home. I'm going to go over some other options for getting an arcade up and running in your home super fast. A couple easier solutions. There's a super easy solution, there's a medium difficulty solution, and then there's expert mode. And everybody can obtain this if they're really wanting to get into the hobby. And if you have any questions and you want to talk to me about how I did this or how I did a certain thing, comment below and I will answer any questions that you guys have. So, with that being said, let's take a look at how this functions. Let's play some games. Okay, so let's play some games. Let's look at a couple of my favorite games on here. I'm going to start off by playing Pac-Man Championship Edition, NES Edition. This is probably my favorite competitive game on my arcade. So the way Championship Edition works is that you have a certain amount of time and you are trying to get the high score without losing all your lives in that short amount of time. So you want to try and eat as many ghosts as you can, and you want to eat as many as you can. I'm a little rusty at first because it gets really fast later on. I'm not doing so hot. It's been a while since I practiced. Let me see if I can just find a groove here. Once you kind of find your groove, and I actually think I do a little bit better at the higher speeds. But at the higher speeds, sometimes it's just all about survival. So once I get up to a little bit faster, I don't worry so much about eating the ghosts and concentrate more on just staying alive and eating the dots. And the more dots you eat, the more power pellets you get, the longer you can stay alive. You guys are going to see me at my worst, but that's all right. Got to take the good with the bad. You can see up at the top, I still have 2.5 minutes to go, so not gonna happen. This is my last life, unless I can get another life. Sad, sad score. But I got 9th place. Yay! There. This score proves that I'm actually good. Alright, so there's Pac-Man Championship Edition. Let's exit back out to the main menu. Okay, so now let's switch over to Pac-Man Championship Edition DX Plus. All right, so here we are. This one's really cool because it keeps track of all your high scores. It compares you against the online community and whatnot. So let's jump in here. And you have all kinds of options here. So we're just gonna choose one and go. And you have different kinds of, let's find one that has a short one. So you got different time trials. You got a 5-minute, 10-minute, and then you got a short 1-minute one. We'll just do a short 1-minute one. And the object is not to get the high score here. The object of this is to finish it the fastest. See, I had 1 minute to clear it, and I did it in 36.1 seconds. That was a pretty good score, actually. And once you do that, it unlocks other time trials. So we can go back. We can do time trial 2. Do another short one here. See how I'm warmed up. I'm doing better. Not missing as many turns. $35.1 seconds. Oh, actually, it was 24 seconds. I had 35.1 seconds left. We'll do one more. Oh. Still 27 seconds, even though I died. All right. So that's Pac-Man Championship Edition, DX Plus. Another one of my favorites on here. So let's go back to the menu. Just hold that button down, 3 seconds, and you're right back. Alright, let's try a fan game. This one is called Pac-Man Brothers. So this is Pac-Man Brothers, and it does a couple cool things like that. When you die, you get a cool little animation, for one. There's a lot of attention to detail in this game, but you can also do a dodge or a roll. So I don't know if you've ever played Pac-Mania, but it's similar to that, but you can get close to a ghost, and if you can't quite catch them, you can just zoom on over there and eat them. The other thing is that when you eat a power pellet, sometimes the ghosts have a letter on them. If you go and eat that letter, it collects down here. And when you spell Pac-Man, you get a free life. You can also roll over the top of the ghosts if they're going to come at you. Let me see if I can get one to, like that. So you want to try and eat those letter ghosts whenever they appear. And on top of that, this game is 2-player. So you can play it with a friend. And it's really fun. Me and my son play this game every once in a while. Nice. So that dodge roll gets you out of trouble more often than you would think. Oh. See if I can at least clear the board here. I think I got them all over here. Yep. Let's go back over the other side here. Oh, and you can get an angry ghost that goes faster. I forgot about those ones. Done. So there's Pac-Man Brothers. You can see I got almost spelled Pac-Man. And then you just hold it, exits back out to the menu, you're ready to select another game. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed that deep dive into my Pac-Man arcade. And hopefully it inspired you to consider putting a little bit of nostalgia in your own home. Stay tuned for my next video, we got some fun stuff planned. And until next time, stay rad and stay retro.